Well, a very good afternoon. It is Monday, and we are live on F1 Experience's Instagram. Don't even know what day of the week it is, let alone where I am. But yes, here we are, F1 Experience's Instagram. My name is James O'Brien. That I know for sure. And it is great to have you with us here today. We've got another fantastic guest coming up in a few moments' time. We're looking forward to having a chat with none other than team principal of the Haas Formula One team, the one and only Mr. Guenther Steiner, who'll be joining us in a few moments' time, which we're looking very much forward to. Let us know where you are joining us from, no matter where you are, right around the world. We've got lots of people joining in, so it is great to see you all. And we'll very soon, as I say, be joined by the one and only Mr. Guenther Steiner. And join with him. He'll be joining us from Charlotte, North Carolina. And here he is, the man himself, Mr. Guenther Steiner. A very good afternoon, sir.
It's afternoon. Yeah, just afternoon. Good afternoon to everybody. How are you doing?
We're very well, and it is great to have you with us. Thank you so much for your time today. We do appreciate it, because I guess it's a very busy time as we get set to go back to racing. It's been a strange time, I guess, as well. Everybody's been on lockdown. How have you and the family been coping with everything?
Fortunately, everything is okay with me and family. We are all okay. We just got back after Australia, straight to the US, straight home, and then we just were careful, diligent, and behaved as best as we could. No, everything is good on that side for me.
Fantastic. Good to hear. Good to hear. And let's talk about the extended family. Your two drivers in Romain Grosjean and, of course, Kevin Magnussen. Have you been keeping in touch with them during this break? Are you on constant Zoom calls with them all?
No, I wouldn't say constant Zoom calls. No, I update. We keep in touch. We WhatsApp a little bit, and then I speak normally once a week, or at least every second week with them, because they are doing their own thing. I mean, they are not as busy as we are. I mean, they are busy working out, doing their thing. But no, they are doing well, and I think, like everybody else interested in F1, cannot wait to get back racing, and they're in the same position. I mean, they want to go back to a little bit more of a normal life as we know it from before.
Absolutely. And what have they been doing to keep themselves, I guess, entertained? Because I did notice on social media that Kevin Magnussen has grown an awesome Viking-like beard. Do you know if he's taken that off yet, or is that like his new thing for this year?
I think I sent him a text the other day. I hope you shave this one off before you get back, something like this, because I just saw it on some website that what's happened to him, because I mean, normally I just speak on the phone with him, not on a video call. So, but I need to call him up and say, now people is mentioning, I mean, make sure that you get the beard away. But I think he went a little bit out on his boat doing his thing, and he told me that he's go-karting a lot. He found the love for go-karting again, and he's doing that one a lot. And I think Romain, with 3 children, very young age, he was busy in itself, and he told me he was the happiest man when they went back to school, because in Switzerland the school opens about 2 weeks ago. So he was the happiest man then. And then on the other side, he has now his esports team, which he is managing. So he's now a team owner and F1 driver and a father of 3. So I think he wasn't bored.
Yeah, I'd say he's had his hands full. Speaking of esports, what do you think about this, that Formula One has turned to esports? Of course, it's now wrapped up, and we do congratulate George Russell on winning the championship. But what's your thoughts on the whole esports side of the business?
I'm too old for esports.
Yeah.
No, I think it was a good thing to do during this time, and it gave a chance to people which normally don't have this audience to shine. Also, just esports drivers, I think, which is always good. I think it has got a good place beside F1, and it had a chance to show itself off while we were not racing. So I think I always like if people get involved anywhere close to our sport. I like it, because maybe some people which were involved in esports now go and look at the real thing, which is the F1, or not the real thing. Esports is as well a real thing, but F1 the real cars. So we always need young people still to be interested, or we don't need it, but we love it to have people still interested in real racing cars.
Now, I guess the real question is, if there was ever going to be a team principal esports league, how do you think you'd go?
I I think I'm too busy to do all this stuff, So I don't think there is space for me. There is a lot better people doing that than me, I think, because I think it's not as simple as it looks like. It's not just a simple video game which you play. There's a lot to it, and like everything, if you want to be good, you need to dedicate time, and you need time to learn. And I think for me to starting, I would be on my back foot to catch up with these young kids. They are a lot smarter than me. They have a lot more time to learn it, and they just are in a better place.
Yeah, I think you and me both. I think we'd probably be way down the grid. We're probably better off cutting up the oranges and handing them out at half time. Let's talk about how busy you have been, because I guess not many people realise that you are team principal, but there's 3 operations, I guess, with an Italian-based squad. You've got your United Kingdom-based squad and your United States-based squads as well. So how difficult has that been for you to keep everybody motivated and pulling in the right direction during this crazy time?
I think it's pretty difficult, and I said to the guys, I spoke with most of the guys, in video conferencing, obviously, in the last days, in the last week, because I've been out of touch a little bit with them, because you just try to manage to keep it going, So it's so much to do, and as you say, our HR manager, she was just busy trying to learn about all the regulations in different countries about furlough and things like this, because it is a challenge. It's not easy. So, but it was not only to keeping the people happy, let's say, it's also to keeping the company going, because it was challenging time. At some stage, we didn't have a calendar, which you assume the worst, that you're not going back racing this year, and that would put us in a difficult position, because obviously there is no or very little income, and you cannot run a team with 200 people or a company with 200 people on no income. So it was challenging on all accounts, and not made easier by the 3 different countries, 2 different continents, obviously, where you have to conduct this business. So it was challenging, and then dealing with FIA, FOM as well, with the other team principals, to find solution that F1 can be in a good place when we get back to some kind of normality, even if normality will be different than the old normality. But we needed to make sure that when we come back, that we are in a better place and not always shaky and everything just, I don't know if it is going to happen or not, because now we have turned over to, we now get ready for the race in Austria, which is in only 2.5 weeks, So it's going from doing, like running a business out of just keeping it alive, to go in full mode of getting ready to compete against with the best of the world, So it's like my head is spinning,
Head spinning, plate spinning. I think you've got it all going on there at the moment. So what's the feeling like in the factories around the world? Because like you say, we're 2.5 weeks away from going back to racing. You've got a car that hasn't really turned a wheel yet in anger. The last time you saw it would have been at testing. So how's everybody feeling? What's the motivation like?
I think everybody's feeling great just to be back to go back to your job, what you like to do. And we realized actually that we like the job more than we thought we like it, because before there was always a good moment to complain about anything. In the moment, I hear very little complaints, because everybody is just happy to go back to be able to do what they like to do, and making a living out of it, So I think everybody's motivated. As you said, the Barcelona test, it seems to be, for me, years away. I cannot, not that I don't remember, it just seems so long away. But it was only 4 months ago. But we have done so much in between, that you think, wow, this was a long time ago. And now, a few weeks ago, when somebody asked me, in Barcelona, I had to go back and think, how did you actually perform in Barcelona? You have to really think, because you take all that aside when you work on all the other things we had to work in this difficult time. So you go back and rethink about how did the test go and so on, because we didn't do any developments between Barcelona and now, obviously, for financial reasons, we needed to stay calm, spending money. Yes, we need the money later on in the season to go racing. So I think we are in the same position as we were before Australia, hoping that we can play in the midfield with the other midfield teams. And hopefully we are strong. So, but going back to your initial questions, I think everybody's motivated and try to do the best. And one thing is what we put high on our priority list: try not to make mistakes, because in 3 months of not working, it's very easy to forget about little things, which before because you forget, because before they were automatic. You were just doing them automatically, and now all of a sudden you have to think about it. And if you, the smallest thing you forget in Formula One, it has consequences normally.
Yeah, exactly. There is a lot to relearn, I guess, after we've been all off for so long. I just want to come back to something that you mentioned there, which was working together and teamwork. And I've noticed that, I guess it's a bizarre time because all of the team principals are all starting to agree, and you're all starting to work together. Do you think that COVID has brought that change around, and do you think it's going to continue once we go back to our new normal, whatever that might be?
Oh, there's a lot of questions in there which I have to think about. So I think we will never. I think in this difficult time, I think everybody was reasonable and tried to find a compromise. What we did, and I think we found it. Nobody's really happy, but nobody's really unhappy. That means that's a good compromise. Everybody's a little bit unhappy. So I think that's good. Going back, will it stay like this? I don't think it will stay like this, but I think there will be more respect for it, and I hope that none of us forgets the difficult time we had the last 4 or 5 months. So we don't forget that at any time we can be back in the same position. So if we are aware of that, you are not trying to disagree and to unstabilize something you're doing, just for your own benefit. So I think everybody came together and agreed on that we need to work together better, because I think the 10 teams we have got around now, they're all pretty good. There is nobody really outstandingly, but they're all, some in better financial shape than others, but all in a quite good position, in a very respectable position, because F1, even if we have a budget cap, it's still very, very, very expensive, So everybody thinks now F1 is cheap. No, F1 is not cheap. It's still really expensive, and you need a lot of money. So, but I think we got together a lot between us, team principals, and let's hope to stay it like this. We will have our fallouts again, but as long as in principle we stay together, that would be a big step forward.
I think it will be as well, and I know that between my colleagues and also people within the business, we have WhatsApp groups. Have you got a WhatsApp group or maybe some sort of group set up with your fellow team principals where you share ideas, or maybe say, can you believe he said that, or something like that?
No, I think we don't have a WhatsApp group. At least I'm not on it. Maybe they have it without me. I wouldn't know that, But no, we WhatsApp between us sometimes. But with some of the people, they've got a better understanding. Some of them less. But there is normally nobody here that you completely disagree or you fall out. At least me. I say my opinion, and then we don't with it. I think people know that by now. So. But we are in contact each other if we have something to speak, and it's very easy to reach each other.
Brilliant. Let's go back to racing, because we are heading back in just 2.5 weeks' time. It's very exciting to know that we've literally got a series of back-to-back events now. For the fans, for people that follow Formula One, brilliant, amazing. We're going to see all of this great excitement on track. But for the rates of development and how you're going to modify and adapt and stay in that midfield and challenge the top half, how difficult is that going to be, knowing that you've got just such a small window of opportunity to get things turned around?
Will be very difficult this year, and sometimes you just have to do the best with what you have got, because in the moment we cannot define really our budget, how much we can do in development, because we don't know how many races we have got. Not knowing that you don't know the expenditure, you don't know also the income. So we need to wait for that one finally to make our final budget, and then we can decide what are we going to do with developments and so on. So it will be very difficult for us, but we are aware of it. We try to do the best, and sometimes you just have to man up and say, maybe this will not be our shining year, but we will make a solid job, try to entertain the people with what we have got, and make the best out of it.
Now, there's been a lot of talk, and we've had a lot of questions, because we've taken a lot of questions, in fact, from a lot of our followers on social media, and COVID has featured quite prominently in many of the questions. And one in particular was, and let me just say this is a worst case scenario, one of your drivers happens to test positive to COVID. What's the protocol in place for Haas Formula One team? Let's say one of your drivers tests positive. What happens then?
What is happening depends when he's tested positive, because it's different. If he's tested positive on a Saturday, you cannot do anything. We don't start. As simple as this. That's sure. With one car, But there is a protocol that the people will have an app, and you can see who they were in touch with, and then you just take the precautions to look at the people and test them as well once more, because we are currently tested. The protocol demands that we are always tested during the event, on not on a daily basis, but it's frequently. And if the driver is tested before or after the race, we have got 2 reserve drivers. We see if we would bring them in, if it is time enough to bring them in, or there is always, you find always a solution to this problem as long as you've got in time, and it needs to be done on Friday, because if it happens on Saturday, you're too late anyway.
Of course, of course. Lots to think about as we head back to racing. And of course, not just this year, we've also got future years to think about as well, 21 and beyond. So are you looking ahead? Are you thinking about the driver market? Are you thinking about, well, obviously the rules and regulations are going to stay the same, so that's helped a little bit.
Yeah, next year, obviously, the regulations stay the same, and we homologate the car, and we have to use the same car as this year, the specification, except the aero specification. So that helps us a lot financially, and also work-wise, because we wouldn't have time to develop a new car from now onwards, because we were shut down the last 3 months. So that helps on that side. For the 22 regulation, I really look forward to it now, because it's like, when you have something in front of you and you know that one year you've got something old, you're never happy. You want the new one. It's always the new, the new gadget is the best one. As much as you can try to deny it, I will be great. And yeah, let's get over with 20 and 21. We've got our eye on something new on new Formula One, right? So that is what I think on that one. And driver-wise, we didn't have time to think about it yet, what to do. We haven't raced a race. We haven't done really anything. So now everything which we would be doing would be thinking and speculating and guessing and not knowing actually where it is going. So let's have us a few races under our belt, and then it's coming quick anyway, September, when normally the driver market starts. I think this year it was a little bit strange because it started very early, so everybody thought we were already in that phase. It started with Sebastian leaving Ferrari and all the other changes which came after that one. So I think everybody got a little bit a wake-up call. Oh, let's talk about drivers, because otherwise normally not many people would ask, but it's normal. So I think it's a little bit like everything else this year. It's strange and different.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a 4-time Formula One world champion not doing much next year, so you never know. But one driver I do have to touch on, and we spoke to him last week, was one of your reserve and test drivers, Pietro Fittipaldi. Fantastic guy, fantastic driver. A lot of support for Pietro. What are your thoughts on him?
I mean, we are always. I mean, we are having Pietro in our group, in our team, because of a reason. I mean, he's doing a good job. He tested the car a few times. He did some quite a lot of simulator work. I mean, I don't want to go there, but because which is quite tiring work, even if people think it's nice to do, but it is nice to do. But these guys, they like to drive a car better. But again, we haven't made any decision on anything yet. So to speculate on anything which could happen there would be too early. For sure, these guys, once they're in a team, they got a little advantage over all the people outside, because we are in contact with them. Actually, I've got a very good relationship with Pietro, and I mean, not many people know he lives about 20 minutes drive from my house here in North Carolina. So but that was just pure coincidence. So I mean, Pietro is with us this year, and then we see what is happening next year. But it will be part of what we do with the drivers for the future.
Excellent, excellent. So we're going back to some of our fan and follower questions that have come through, and we've had one here from Jeremy, who says, Guenther, what is the best part of your job, and what is the worst part of your job?
I think the best part for me, obviously, is qualifying and racing. That are the two things which I love most. But that is where my passion is. I don't really have a worst part of my job. There is things which there is nothing which in the morning I get up and say, oh, I don't really want to do this. No, I say, I have to do this, I will do it. I'm not as excited as getting up on a Saturday or on a Sunday to go racing. But there is a lot of dealing with budgets, which after a while gets tired. But it's part. That work makes you able to go racing, so that's why you have to do it. So I don't see it as a negative. It's just like, but it's not like I'm afraid of it, or when you really hate something to go somewhere or do something. I'm not like this, but because it's part of it, and to to do what you enjoy to do, you need to put effort in it. And I think it's in every job the same, you know. So there is parts, but there's nothing I really dislike in this job.
That's good to hear. Tyler asks, on all of your frequent travels, are you a film, book, or sleep kind of guy?
Sleep. I know what Tyler's asking. I've got an advantage. I can sleep anywhere, anytime. It's very strange. I go on a plane, I can sleep.
Wow.
I mean, it's like people say, but even my wife says, I don't know how you do it, but I go on a plane, I sleep, you know. And I mean, I read a book, and I watch the occasional movie if there's a nice movie, but I'm not watching a movie because I cannot sleep. I watch a movie because I want to watch the movie, and otherwise I go to sleep. I'm not watching a movie because I'm bored or I just want to kill time. No, if I have to kill time, close my eyes and have a good nap.
You're a lucky man. I do the same amount of travel as you, and I struggle. So well done you. Well done you. Let's talk about some of the more interesting places that are coming up as Formula One looks to expand our calendar in 2020. We've seen a lot of interesting potential race locations coming up, and I should say again potential places like Portugal. Places like Germany. Is there any track in particular that that you may have heard about that you're keen to go racing at?
No, I mean, I read about and heard about Portugal. I've never been in Portimao. I don't know the racetrack, so it's always something new. It's always exciting. It's like the 22 regulation is new. Let's go to the new thing. Let's get a new experience in. So for me, it's the same. I mean, we have been in Hockenheim, and Hockenheim always can put a good race on. So, but I don't know at what stage this negotiations, or if there are even negotiations, or call it speculations are. So we just have to wait until FOM makes their decisions where we go next after the 8 races which were announced. So, but I'm open to each new country we go to, a new racetrack. It's always good for all the fans as well. There is something new.
Yeah.
You know, new people get access to it. Hopefully we can open up again to spectators when we get to later on in the year or the second part of the year. So hopefully we can have spectators there, and it gets accessible to new people to go there to experience it. But for sure, even on TV, it's always nice to see something new.
It certainly is, and we're looking forward to expanding our calendar back to, I guess, normal levels in 2021 and returning with F1 Experiences. We've had the pleasure of having you as a guest many a time up in the F1 Experiences Champions Club. Is that the sort of thing that you enjoy doing? Of course, this on Instagram and getting up talking about the sport to fans. Is that kind of thing you enjoy?
Yeah, I enjoy it. I don't mind it at all. You know, some people don't like it. I don't dislike it because I think I'm speaking with the people which have got interest in this sport. Otherwise, they wouldn't tune in. You know, so I think that is fantastic to have the opportunity to do it, to tell them a little bit more what they like, because I have got things I sometimes want to learn a little bit more, and you just tune into this stuff. And I think it's part of the job. But I by no means I dislike it. You know, I quite like it to speak with people, and I think. I always have a good time. I try to make a good time out of it because that is it's part of my job.
No, we are appreciating your time very much, and we are just going to get back to a couple more of our fan questions. And Felix asks, the cost cap. It's been agreed, but would you like to see it lowered further?
I mean, for us, it would be, I would like to see it a little bit lower, but I fully understand where the big teams are. And again, with this getting along better in future with the other teams, or being more aligned on things, this is a good compromise. To explain it quickly to Felix, before our gap between the big teams and a small team and a big team was between 100 and 150 million. Now it maybe is 20 million. We're in a much better place, you know. So I think it's better for everybody involved in the sport, because it should, in the midterm, not in the short term, bring the teams, the competitiveness closer together. I mean, I say not in the short term because the resources the other teams can put in now they are so much higher, and they've got so much more knowledge that for a few years they will keep that advantage, but it will close up very rapidly, you know. So I hope. I'm convinced getting forward, this has been a big step, and I can very good live with the amount which was given to us.
Indeed, a good level playing field is coming up, and we're looking forward to seeing that parity, I guess, that we'll all be able to enjoy. We've got Southern Bob. Not sure if that's Bob's real name, but Southern Bob wants to know, what's Gene Haas like to work for? What's he like as a boss?
I mean, like every boss, I mean, it's very difficult to speak about the boss publicly, because I mean, you never know how that goes,
Of course.
Maybe I get an email afterwards. No. Gene is very, Gene is very passionate about his racing, competing, but he's running his own business very well. Has automation, which produces machining tools. One of the big players in the world, obviously, but. It's very good. He gives me a lot of freedom. To be honest, I don't abuse the freedom. I try to be always diligent in whatever I do, but that's not only for Gene. I always did that in my life. So my relationship with him is good, and I quite to have him around on some of the races, because I want always to see people which are not doing this on a daily basis, because then you get like in a rut, you cannot get out anymore. And if you've got somebody there which you respect and which will give you pointers, that's always good to stimulate your thinking how to do things better. So I think it is not the easiest boss to work for, but I respect him a lot for how he challenges me,
Which is a very rewarding thing to have. Southern Bob had a second part to his question, and he said that, do you think you'd ever go back to racing in NASCAR? Because, of course, we know that you were a technical director in the Red Bull Racing NASCAR team. Do you think when this is over, if and when, you'd go back to NASCAR?
I mean, I normally don't plan long ahead. I mean, I always go with, what there is always something coming up. In the moment, I have no plans for it, so I have no idea what the future brings. I mean, if I could look in the future, I would be a blessed man, I guess, So maybe I wouldn't be sitting here, So, but no, I enjoyed my time in it. But in the moment, I just need to. I'm 100% focused on this one, and I'm not planning for anything else than doing this one.
Well, that is good to hear, because we certainly want to see you around for many more years in the Formula One paddock. And I guess that brings us to I guess the ultimate question: where do you see Haas at the end of this season? I know you said you haven't got a crystal ball, but if you had one, in your ideal world, where would you see the team?
I see us in the midfield, but as I said to you before, going back on thinking about Barcelona, the midfield, there were 4 teams so close together, and we were within 3/10, and 3/10 in Barcelona is 10 kilo of fuel. So I don't know the other people's fuel level. I know our one, so I could be very positive about it, but I could be also very negative. So until we do a qualifying at the first race in Austria, I don't really know, but I think we're in the midfield. And if you're in the midfield, what you try to do to be on top, but then I'm realistic enough knowing that this year we will not have a lot of development, so maybe other ones do more development. But I don't know that one, because developments can go wrong as well. So, it's like, but in the midfield, I hope we are, and we will be competing and make it interesting for everybody.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you back, and I know that we've stolen you during your lunch break today. We only had you for a limited time, so I would like to thank you, and of course the entire Haas Formula One team, for your time today. It is much appreciated. So thank you for taking some time out and speaking to us on F1 Experiences.
No, thank you for having me, and all the best. Good luck.
Thank you very much indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the one and only Guenther Steiner, who is, of course, team principal at the Haas Formula One team. A great man and such a fantastic character in the paddock, and we're looking forward to seeing him back trackside very soon. And, of course, we're looking forward to seeing you back trackside as soon as we can with F1 Experiences. It's what we do best, bringing people closer to Formula One than ever before, and we'll be back doing it as soon as we can, safely and properly, and really indulging in this fantastic sport. Thank you so much for your company again today. We're looking forward to coming back with more great content as we look to go racing once again with F1 Experiences.